Hi guys, Rubber Toe Assembly here. We'll be building the Bowflex Xtreme 2 SE Home Gym. First thing you want to do is lay everything out, unpack it nice and neat as you see here. And this is the hardware pack that we will be using as we go step by step according to the assembly manual. Alright, getting right to part 3 and 4 here. To install the seat support rail is going to attach to the lower lat assembly to the front part of it. That little piece that's sticking out in the front up there slides into the bottom base frame assembly and connects there, so that's where you need the little play in the lower lat assembly. So you attach it with the hardware here, which are I and B. B's are the washers and the I's are the bolts. They're little 3/4 inch by 3/8 button head bolts, or screws if you will. They're like machine screws with a button head, and 4 black screws and 4 black washers that go to them. 2 go right there. I just hand tighten those for now, and then 2 at the bottom where it connects to the base frame assembly. And then you install your squat pulley frame. The beginning pieces here are 5 and 6, which are squat frame right and squat frame left, which go on as you see here with 1 bolt threads through the middle of the top part of each side all the way across, and it is a 3/8 by 5 inches long bolt with 2 3/8 washers on and a 3/8 nut on the end of it passing through, just as you see there. And that kind of holds the left and right arm on there, so you can get to your next step, which is grabbing item number 7, the squat platform there, and installing that. You might have to lift up the base there and slide it under. These are the 2 attachments that are going to go onto the left and right arm, which I'm sliding on ahead of time, because once you put your squat platform on and you run the bolts that are in the front, you won't be able to slide these on. So you want to put them on pretty much now or soon, before you put those front bolts to hold the squat platform in the front of it. So I usually slide them on right about in the middle somewhere and tighten them up just so they don't slide around. They shouldn't, but anyway. Yeah, it's a little spring loaded, snaps into those holes on the outside, and I just snug them up so they're not too loose. And you see how I left the wrapping on the cables to those. It's just way easier to keep them all wrapped up until the very end. Then you can open them up, the cables, and run your cables at the end of the assembly. Otherwise you have cables twisted and tripping you up and all over the place. So I grab the squat platform and I'm going to attach it in the front. Looks like I slid the thing back already, that's fine. And then slide it, as you see there, underneath the base frame assembly. Boom, slides right into position, and it's going to be attached with 4 bolts labeled Q's in the hardware pack. 4 bolts labeled Q's, which are I don't know, 2 3/4 inch long 3/8 button head screws. And see, now I can put the ones in the front and the back, both, because that thing is already slid on there. I slid the left side on and the right side on with the cables all wrapped up right there to the left. Anyways, those are on already, because you wouldn't be able to slide it through here once you put these bolts in the front. So just save yourself some time and slide those on ahead of time. Anyway, I run the bolts through. They're labeled Q's, and then you got some 3/8 washers and a 3/8 nut that goes on the back side, just as you see there. Run those, and switch over to the other side and run the other 2 bolts the same way. And I always run them with the button head side on the inside and the nut and washer on the outside. See how it pops through there quite a bit there. And then you put 1 3/8 nut followed by a 3/8 washer on the end of that. And you'll come back in a few minutes and tighten those 4. Still have to do that last one there. So you run those, and then there's going to be 2 more short button head screws right there by my right hand on the seat frame right there. See the 2 holes? There's going to be 2 small screws. That's the next step. Going to add those, hand tighten as well, as I'm putting the final Q bolt, I call it. It's labeled Q. Putting it on loosely, and then I'm going to grab 2 more of the small screws labeled I and 2 washers, 3/8 washers that go with that. I believe those are labeled O's. Yep, 2 of those O's. And then put those final 2 shorties in at the bottom of the seat post assembly, right there. Yeah. And it's still, everything's still just hand tightened, just loose. And so you got a little bit of wiggle room right there. Yeah, you just wiggle it a little bit until the holes are lined up, and then you start that, well, second to the last screw there. And then on the other side is going to be the final screw holding the other side, your left arm and your right arm, holding them on there at the bottom of the base there. And poof, yep, there's your last one. Those just screw in, and then after all those screws are there, it's they're all loosely. I come back at the end and tighten each one up. I like to use a drill gun and an Allen wrench on the other side. The button head screw side has a little Allen indentation there. Yep. I just stick the little Allen wrench in there and come on the back side of it with a 3/8 deep socket attachment. Set the torque on the drill, of course, and then zip zip, tighten them all up. You don't want to really go crazy on tightening them, just enough where the washer is hitting the metal and everything's tight, where the washers are not loose. If the washer is loose, obviously it's not tight enough. So you just want to tighten it so where there's no loose washers jiggling around, because you don't want to over tighten these, because those tubes, you know, you don't want to crimp them and weaken the integrity at all. So yep, you just snug all these up nice and snug, tight. And then the last bolt I usually tighten is that top one, which was the first one that I put through. So kind of holds everything where you want it to be. Alright? And then I come back to the top and I tighten these 2 little screws. You don't need to play anymore, the wiggle room, so you can go ahead and snug those 2 up, both sides, with a little Allen wrench. I like to put the Allen wrench attachment onto the ratchet. It's a lot quicker most of the time. Alright, and there you have it, all set. That was section 3 and 4. So watch the next video for steps 5, 6, 7, and 8. That should be pretty exciting, right in the middle of it all. The Bowflex Xtreme 2 SE Home Gym. Beautiful machine. Once it's complete, you guys are going to love it.